Welcome to Vampire Radio! Hola, 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 hola. You are watching Vampire Radio here on the Monty and the Pharaoh channel. Of course, I'm your hostess with the mostest, Shelly from Kelly. And of course, I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Minnie the Moocher and Jack Martinez. Today is a little bit different. I am not with the Vampire Radio backdrop. I have my flower wall. I use my flower wall for all kinds of different things. Usually when I get interviewed for a podcast or something like that, I used it for live streams. So I already had the setup here. So I was like, look, instead of like stressing out over setting everything up over on the vampire radio wall, I'm just going to go to the flower wall today. Here's the thing, I was watching the intro, right? And look, okay, so my intro used to be a little bit different before, and I added the video clips and stuff like that. And I was very particular on what I put on there. So, first of all, shout out to the Vampire Radio official intro with Acid Wash's Vampire Radio. There we go. A proper shout out. So, before what I was doing is I just had like a photo of myself while the Vampire Radio theme song was on, right? So I always knew I wanted to make a cute intro with like highlight stuff of not just my wrestling, but other things too. And when I was putting it together for the last episode, I was like, finally, I'm going to just do this intro. I'm going to make it right. Right. So I was like, I have to do that one, because I used it for the background video for a music break. Um, and I've used it many times for music break background stuff with that photo shoot that I was doing back in the day when I had shellymartinez.com and I was shooting for my members. I've been doing this forever. And I did this shoot and it was so meaningful to me because at that time, I had finally come to, like, some closure with my Batista thing, and it was June of 2000. Oh, shoot, I have it somewhere. I can't 2011, I think. I'm pretty sure. I have to fact check that, but anyways, point is, I had some closure with the Batista thing because up until then, if you don't know what the Batista thing is, just Google it. I can't. I'm just gonna throw up. I have to tell the story again. So when I had this moment of where me and Batista had a truce, it was on Twitter. So when people were like, "Oh, whatever," it's like, dude, I've been working on different levels of letting that go and understanding the situation. And at that time, I wanted to do a shoot and that's where I had like the picture of Batista and I'm like ripping it and this and that. And it's not a dog on Batista, it's what it symbolized for me. And that's how I shoot, man, because I've been a damn model since the early 2000s, a Y2K model, and that's just how we roll, bitches, okay? So that was my way of expressing myself and sitting on top, finding this alley that had this television set and sitting on top of it and what that meant, the whole nine yards, like every little detail, the outfit, everything had a meaning for me. And that's why I love that shoot. And the photos came out so freaking good. So I was like, oh, duh, I have to put that one in there. And then when I goes to the Salinas reveal. Now, here's the thing. I talked about this many times and I will continue to talk about it because it blows my freaking mind still to this day. I did not realize what people really saw, generally speaking, when I was revealed as the mysterious LAX member to being Salinas. And what I mean by that is, call it guilty conscience, I don't know, but I just thought everyone knew that it was me, like the viewers. I don't know why. I just thought, "Oh, they know it's me. It's no big deal, but I'm gonna try my best to not be Shelly like." So, I had a lot of fun with it. I was supposed to be a dude, so I had a lot of fun with trying to do the mannerisms and not look too girlish. And I did a live stream on Twitch a couple years back, and I revisited that footage, and the chat room, so many people were like, "Yeah, I remember this. You totally had me. I couldn't believe it was you." Like, and I was like, "Wait a minute. Like, I worked you guys?" And it really made me have this moment where I was like, "Oh my gosh, I pulled it off." And I was in such a low place at that time that even though I was getting these great opportunities at TNA, I'm so grateful that TNA used me the way they did. Um, I wish I could have wrestled a little bit more, but that's okay. Like, I'm very happy with what they had me do. And it was like that I had all this good stuff going on with TNA, but at the same time, I didn't even have time to process what had just happened at WWE. You know what I mean? It was like a lot. My childhood dream was to go and be a wrestler, and there I freaking was. And I got myself into trouble, and there I was not. But I said this before, and I will continue to say this. Had I stayed at WWE longer, I wouldn't have been able to experience TNA at that time, at that era, when the Knockouts division was at the beginning, at its core. And those are the kinds of moments, even though I was going through it, and I didn't even realize it at the time because I was trying to throw myself so much into TNA and everything about it, even like my social aspects in life and stuff like that. I made it all about it. Like, that's why I compared TNA to having a rebound. Like, WWE was the love of my life that dumped me, and TNA was my rebound. And so it's all of those kinds of emotions I was throwing myself. So I didn't even realize that's why I was having moments of desperation, making bad choices, just being a sad, sad girl, right? So I never took a step back really to appreciate the work I did as Selena's. And it blew my mind that I worked everyone when I had that twitch and people were like, "Oh, I remember that," and all that. It was like, "What? I didn't realize that." And I've been really embracing that energy ever since I had that discovery. And so that's why I was like, dude, I'm putting the reveal of Selena's on there. Dude, I am totally doing it. It's a good moment. And, then this match with Rebby. So, first and foremost, when I was thinking about putting wrestling highlights, I was like, "Okay, I have to get my entrance from this one particular show," because you saw it. The way they shot it was to me, it looks like a movie. It looks like you know what? That's why I wanted to be a part of Lucha Underground so bad. They looked like they were filming a movie. It just so happens to have wrestling in it, if that makes sense. Versus WWE, for example, is a wrestling show that has some theatrical moments within it, right? So I was like, yeah, I already knew ahead of time. I was like, I'm going to put that in there. But then when I started to revisit that match, like, working with Rebby in that match and a couple matches I had with her aside from that one, really allowed me to have some cool moments with Rebby professionally and personally, that that's exactly what I needed at that time, and I carry that into even now where some of the advice that she has given me and stuff like that, and some of the stuff that she shared with me, I still take it to heart to this day. And I was like, dude, I don't care if it's just the same match. Until I decide to change it up, that's what it's going to be. And I put every part in there for a specific reason. But I'm not going to tell you because it's too personal. We're not going to get that vulnerable here on Vampire Radio. Anyways, I've been going through a lot of stuff that I've had in like boxes and containers. And one of the things I found, you guys, is this. Now, what is this? This is the Rob Zombie album that came out. What year did this come out? Does it say it on here? I don't know if it says it on here, but he signed it. And here's what's crazy is, oh, wait, here's the little booklet. Let me see if it says the year. It doesn't say the year on here. Anyways, this album, Rob Zombie, I got it signed. I went to this horror convention just before I went to WWE or to OVW rather. So I always was a huge White Zombie slash Rob Zombie fan. Rob Zombie was the bee's knees to me forever. And I went to go meet him at this horror convention, and I had a House of a Thousand Corpses poster that I wanted him and his wife to sign because she was going to be there. And I was really excited about it. And Shelly, same old Shelly, different year. I gave him my card and I was like, I'm about to go. I just got signed with WWE. I'm about to leave to go to Kentucky to go to OVW at their developmental school. I just want to give you my card because before I leave, I would love to interview you for my website. Same old Shelly, different year. And Sherry Moon was not having it. She did not like me. She was giving me the side eye. Now, I put myself in her shoes. Duh. Of course she was like that. I wouldn't blame her. But what's crazy is little did I know, and does she know, that one of the characters I drew from for being Ariel was her baby Firefly character that was in House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects and all the other movies that wasn't there one more, I think. I didn't see that one. So anyways, so funny how that works, right? So I totally forgot that I had this and it made it through all the moves. Rob Zombie signed it right before I shipped on out to OVW to later be Ariel, the vampire, who would incorporate baby Firefly into the act. So there you have it. A little, you know what? Let's give a little shout out to Rob Zombie and Sherry Moon. You're watching this you're watching it on the Monty and the Pharaoh channel. So you probably have seen the interview that they have with Maven. Now, it's so crazy because I was aware that they interviewed Maven, but I had never seen the interview that they had done, right? But recently they put out a clip and it was Raven, Maven talking about his time on The Surreal Life, and I completely forgot that Maven was on The Surreal Life because Rock of Love, Surreal Life, what other ones? I was into the real world since the beginning, dude, since the beginning. Um, I got into Road Rules a little bit, but not too much, but Surreal Life was one that, like, to this day, I'm like, remember they brought it back a couple years back and Dennis Rodman was on it? I watched it for sure. So, I completely forgot, and I watched that interview. It was so cool because I don't know too much about Maven, and I've been around him, and he was always really nice. But, like, I never really had any interactions with him or anything, so my point is I don't really know him that well. I just know from what I've seen on TV from him, right? And it made me want to get to know Maven more when I watched that clip about the surreal life, like, so now I gotta go back into the Monty and Pharaoh archives to find that interview, to check it out, and I think you guys should too, and then maybe we'll do a little review on it. You wanna do a review on it? Let me know in the comments. Let's see if we can do a review on it. It's crazy, Maven, he started on Tough Enough, right? So here's a little perhaps unknown fact. I was a participant in Tough Enough 2, I think it was, right? Was that the one where they had tryouts in Vegas? I think it was Tough Enough 2. And it's crazy because, okay, so I started in the business in 2000, in the year 2000. That's when I started. And so 2002, I was 2 years in the business and they had it in Vegas. And so at 22 years old, I don't know what the F I was doing, dude. I took my grandma and my little sister down to Vegas with me. I booked a hotel, that Terrible's Casino, and went and did the damn thing. Here's what's funny. I was with some people that I knew, like other people I knew got picked. One of them was a tag team partner I had here in SoCal. We had a intergender tag team and he was there, so I felt comfortable. And so because I was there with people that I knew, when they suggested that we should do like little like warm-ups and stuff while we waited, because there was a lot of waiting in this process with Tough Enough. We were doing like little jogging around and they would like record us. So I thought, oh, maybe this is a good thing that they're like getting us doing stuff or whatever. And it's so funny because fast forward, spoiler alert, John Morrison was in that Tough Enough. And I remember Melina later, like years later, had mentioned to me that Morrison had told her, "Oh yeah, I remember." I don't know if he said that it was me that he remembered, but he remembered that there was like people that were weird because they were doing like little warm-up drills and stuff, and I was in that group. So it's just so funny how it all works, like it all ties together, right? So anyways, trying to do the best I can. Long story short as I can make it, when I went into the ring, I can't even remember what was said except Bob Holly had said that I was too thick in the waist. And I said, "Well, you know what? I'll do what I gotta do to get that contract." And he said, "Like I said, too thick in the waist." Now, I had a little mini breakdown after he said that. I tried to make sure that the cameras didn't see me because I didn't want them to see me cry. And here's the thing, I didn't cry because I felt shamed. I cried because I knew he was right. And what I mean by that is at that time of my life, it was a different season of me being super depressed and not taking care of business. When I say taking care of business, I mean not being in alignment, mind, body, and soul. And anytime I'm out of misalignment, I wear it on my person. And those are the times that I put on weight. because I'm out of balance. And at that time, I was so young. I was totally out of balance with what I was doing with everything. I was in situations I felt stuck in, and here I was, I finally had an opportunity. I got chosen to go be one of these participants to try to get into Tough Enough, and I thought that was gonna be my ticket into WWE, and or F at the time, excuse me. So, I was upset with myself that I had allowed myself to fall so far off track that I thought, "What if I messed up my opportunity? What if this was my one shot?" And then it's crazy because then years later, I tried out for a diva search, and I made it pretty far in the casting process. And I remember Jonathan Coachman was one of the people there, and I just remember him looking at me when I was there, and they were interviewing me, like the assessment part, right? And he just looked at me, and I'm like, oh gosh, this isn't gonna be good." And he goes, "I see you being a part of the WWF family as a wrestler, not as a diva. Next." And I was like, but then I marinated more on it. I was like, "Okay, so not the diva search way. Maybe that just like," and that's what made me not give up. And thank God I didn't. So, you know what? Shout out to Coachman. Shout out to Bob Holly. I was too thick in the waist. It wasn't a no. He just told me what the problem was. And so I went down that rabbit hole that I just shared with you guys earlier today because, or excuse me, it was yesterday, because I didn't realize, or excuse me, I should say I didn't realize, I'd forgotten that Maven was on Surreal Life. And then that made me think about how Maven started off with Tough Enough. And here's another thing too. Not too long ago, I had tweeted about Nydia, another Tough Enough alumni. And it's so fun because I remember when Melina and I started together here in Southern California. And I feel like she was always a few steps ahead of me, you know? And when I say that, I mean like she started getting looked at before I did, and then she got signed before I did. But it wasn't like I ever got jealous of that. It was more like, okay, she's proof that I just got to keep doing what I got to do and it'll happen for me. And I remember Melina being very encouraging to me during that process. You know, I remember talking to her when she was already in OVW, and here I was in SoCal, and she was always my cheerleader. You know, it wasn't like "Oh, Melina," nothing like that at all. Like I said, if anything, it just made me feel like, okay, I'm on the right path. And one of the things that I remember is right before Melina got signed, she kept getting looked at for quite a while. I want to say maybe more than a year that she was getting looked at before she got signed. I could be wrong. And I remember Nydia, we were at maybe it was a SmackDown, and then Nydia had made a comment to Melina saying, "Haven't they hired you yet?" Because she had kept seeing her so much, right? And so I remember thinking to myself, one day Nydia is gonna say that to me, and I know that's gonna be my time. That's when I'm gonna get hired. So fast forward, I finally start getting looked at for more than a year. It was a little bit more than a year. And then lo and behold, Nydia looked at me one day and she said, "Did they hire you yet?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh." And shortly after that is when I got sent to OVW. I don't know if most people don't know this, but I got sent to OVW before I like got signed. I got sent there with Diva Search girls, and I want to say the only other wrestler girl was Angel Williams, aka Angelina Love, and Maria was one of the Diva Search girls. Kimmy was one. Shoot, I know I'm missing a couple more, but those are just like the people I remember the most because I like was around them the most. But anyways, So I got sent there for about a week, and that was like my final, I feel like, look-see, because then after that, I would want to say like 2, 3 months after that is when I finally got offered a contract. So it's just so funny how it all works, and it like with this tough enough ties, and like how I had that first, like, I thought it was my only opportunity, my big chance, and I blew it because I wasn't taking care of business. And then the diva search, and then it's like, okay, well, it wasn't a no, it was as a wrestler, and that's how I did enter as a wrestler. So I just thought it was a cool, like, kinda thing and all tied in, and I'm so grateful to have like, I wasn't say stumbled, but no, like, to have that. So thank you, Monty and the Pharaoh, for putting that on your feed because it caught my eye, I watched it, and it took me down this whole, like I said, rabbit hole of this, like, other part of my journey that I kind of forget it to, like, think about or to revisit because there's all this, like, other heavy stuff like the Batista thing and whatever else, and I forget about those roots that, like, were growing before I finally went off to the big journey of now I'm under contract, and then that led to me going to TNA, and then that led to me going to back to the independents and doing it my way, and, like, it's like a whole thing, and so it was really cool to just have that trigger and just Shelly McFly back to early 2000s and remembering who the F I am, bitch. right, that's all I got in me for today. So I'm gonna tap out. Thank you guys so much and gals for joining me. Make sure to subscribe here to the Monty and the Pharaoh channel. Lots of cool stuff for you guys to check out. Of course, the new home for Vampire Radio. So you don't want to miss one of the Vampire Radios, do ya? And also, don't forget, if you haven't already, to subscribe to the Shelly Martinez official YouTube channel, which is Shelly Martinez channel. And I have a new series on there called TMI with my friend Chad. And the first episode, official episode, went up last week. So you don't want to miss that. Plus, all my other videos. Plus, hey, if you're watching this and you're probably a wrestling fan, I have a lot of really cool wrestling videos on there. I'm talking about when I used to take back in the early, like the mid 2000s, my vlogging, and it was my whole journey, really. And there's a lot of really cool videos, and we're going to be revisiting some of them here, but do some homework, people, and let me know which ones you guys want me to like revisit any video on there and give you some commentary on that. That'd be pretty cool. But go there, be square, Shelly Martinez channel on YouTube. I'll be back next week, and until then, she is Minnie the Moocher, he is Jack Martinez, I am Shelly, and I'll be smelling you guys later. Adios. Hurry back, and remember to bring your death certificates. Hurry back.
You a little bit nervous today?
Feel great.
And Pharaoh's room. Jimmy, how are you, buddy?
Good. I'm in Pharaoh's room. It couldn't be better.
The NFL season has ended for us Jet fans, my friend.
Thank God.
We spoke a little bit about Aaron Glenn. Your thoughts? Was this the worst Jet season in the history of the Jets?
Well, I was a season ticket holder for the 1-15 Rich Kotite New York Jets back in 1996. Went to every game, dealt with it all. I think that what makes this the worst season is because of the actions of the head coach. Aaron Glenn came in full of bravado, and I'm going to give you a team that you could be proud of. Took shots at Salah. Certain guys weren't progressing because of previous coaching, and I've got the coaching. We all know about the 0-7 start. Then he goes and says, I didn't say when you were going to have a team to be proud of. I'm like, oh boy, here comes damage control. He must have torn both his Achilles doing backpedaling for the rest of the year with the press conferences. It was the expectations and the actions and the bravado, sticking your chest out and then delivering a stat that hasn't been accomplished since 1933 without getting an interception the entire season. Is
with an extra game. With an extra game.
Unbelievable. Yeah, it's
just because you're a decent player doesn't make you a great head coach, and just because you're an okay coach doesn't make you a head coach. And by the way, I know we're speaking about football, so we want to welcome our new sponsor to the Monty and the Pharaoh show, the Howard Stern of Pro Wrestling. FanDuel joins us, and we've got an agreement here with FanDuel. And speaking about FanDuel, Jimmy, I was just checking out the great Aaron Rodgers, who could still have been on our team if not for this coach that decided to embarrass this Hall of Famer.
Yep.
What are you thinking about this spread, Jimmy? Steelers +3 against the Texans.
It's an interesting spread. Don't sleep on the Texans' defense. They really have a very, very good defense. It's a tall task, though, to go into Pittsburgh. I believe that Aaron's going to give everything he's got. You're the betting man. Which way are you swaying? I gotta lean towards the professional here. I'm pulling for Aaron, so I don't want my opinion to be prejudiced.
Again, I'm not a Steeler fan. I am rooting for Aaron too, but rooting aside, this is a lock deal for the Steelers.
You think so?
Texans do have a great defense. I agree with you, but they're just not in line with the Steelers this year. What about the Patriots, who came out of nowhere against the Chargers? -3 though, buddy. -3 to the Patriots. So they're giving 3 to the Chargers.
Oh boy. You know what? We got a really good chess matchup with the coaches. That's the biggest thing to me. Who's going to be smarter that day? Is it going to be Harbaugh? Or is it going to be, it's really, that's very Vrabel? I don't know. That's a tough one. I mean, I feel like the Patriots could win that game, but I also know the willpower of Harbaugh to motivate. But this is the most important part of Harbaugh's thing. He's gotten them there now. So you have to see whether or not he can wave his magic wand. I mean, I would say it's on Harbaugh's side. I think he can outcoach Vrabel and get what he needs, but we won't know until it happens. What do you think?
I agree with you. I'm going with the Chargers on that. How about
Right.
this? Is where my upset is. The Jaguars plus 1.5 against the Buffalo Bills. I'm looking at the Jaguars taking out the Bills in the first round.
No way. Not happening. No way. I feel like Jacksonville is a little bit smoke and mirrors. They had a really
Really?
good year, and I feel like they're a little bit smoke and mirrors. And no way, because this year, and it's weird if it happens, fine. It's strange that the Bills didn't win the division like they've normally been doing lately. Have made the playoffs, and all the key obstructions in the past for Josh Allen are not there. They're not in the playoffs. There's no Mahomes to get in the way. This is the time for Josh Allen. He has to do it this year, and I do not think they're going out in the first round. I do not. I actually expect them to at least get to the AFC Championship game and quite possibly get to the Super Bowl.
Here's one for a playoff spread. This is incredible. You do not see this often. The
Yeah.
Panthers getting 10.5 against the Rams.
Panthers are going to get absolutely smoked.
Wow, I'm disagreeing with that, man. 10.5 is way too much to give in a game.
You do know what Stafford has accomplished this year offensively, right?
Absolutely, but again, we're talking the playoffs, and you do not
Right.
see margins like that. I would not. I would not. I would
So
not.
it's not a safe. It's not a safe bet. In other words.
No, it's not.
Well,
It's,
that's why you're the expert. I honestly would take it. That's me.
hey, no, I hear you. How about the
Yeah.
Packers and the Bears? Get the Bears getting 1.5.
This is going to be a very interesting game. I feel like this is a very close game, one way or the other.
And I
Oh,
want to
God,
remind
I'm paralyzed.
everybody that you can go on to FanDuel, get your first bet in, and you get your first bet in, and we'll get it going. Well, let's welcome our guest. There he is. Whoop, where is he? Is your camera working there, buddy? I don't know. Couple things I want to cover, Jimmy.
Yeah.
500 level has now improved on the M&P code. Now go to MP30 for 30% off. Jimmy, I got to tell you something, right? I was at the beach again, 500 level. If you guys haven't looked at the shirts, right, go to the website. It's incredible. And I got to be honest, right? So it was a little chilly today. I brought the dogs to the beach. I was off work for the Jewish holidays,
today.
right?
It's cold.
It wasn't cold,
Yeah.
but
Well,
I have from 500 level, I have a Roman Reigns sweatshirt. Now, usually sweatshirts are not always the nicest fabric, unless I'm into really nice fabric because I just don't like things up against my skin. So
Yeah.
usually I'll get thinner type of shirts, but this is a heavy sweatshirt. The fabric, unbelievable. And you're going to get a deal at 30% off, Jimmy. I mean, my God, it's a no-brainer, guys. I am telling you, once you get one shirt from them, you'll get 50. I
they're so
guarantee it.
comfortable.
And they've got
so
all the sports.
comfortable.
Yeah, dude, tell me what you think of it, Jimmy.
They're so comfortable. I got to get a long sleeve now. I'm telling you, I got to, because it was chilly today, especially for a guy who's been in Panama City Beach the last 2 years. It was chilly today, and I love the material. It's so silky. Is that the right word for it? I don't know.
No, absolutely, absolutely, dude.
It's so comfortable. So yeah, I got to get myself some leveled long sleeves. That's for sure. 30%.
And again,
off,
it doesn't. They got plenty of wrestling stuff. They got baseball stuff. They've got football. They got everything, dude. MMA. They got it all, man. And I'm telling you, it's very high quality. Again, 500 level code MP30, 30% off. So if a T-shirt costs you $20, what's 30% off on $20, dude?
It's enough. 10 plus another 20% tacked on top. Not much. It's a steal. It's a steal.
I agree. I want to remind everybody too, the Monty and the Pharaoh show, hit the QR code, be willing to check out our shows on YouTube. where we got almost 24,000 subscribers. Go to our Facebook page, where we're approaching 27,000 subscribers. And again, if you feel like donating to the show, please go to the Monty and the Pharaoh webpage, hit donate. Helps us bring in more guests, trying to entertain Jim. We've got the big event coming up, so a lot of good stuff happening right now.